Hey everyone, it's Tim from Linessa Farms Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining us again today. Today we are talking about manure. It's that one thing that every farm has, and also that one thing that most farms don't know how to get rid of. Stay tuned to find out more. All right, so here we are, we're out in the pasture and we are talking about manure. It's that time of the year that we're gonna be spreading manure. Yeah, manure can be tough. The good thing about sheep and goats is it's considered a cold manure. That is to say that it doesn't have enough nitrogen in it, that it's really hot to the point that it's going to burn anything that you put it on. We usually allow our piles to sit for about 6 months, and then we'll come in, we'll stir them up, and we will take them out. You don't really have to amend your manure with anything, because if you're scooping it out and you've got your bedding involved in here, you've got plenty of carbon material in here that will help it to break down. So as you can see, we've got a pretty nice loose, I like to, after about 6 to 8 months, it's not completely broken down. It's not like dirt. It still has some organic material in it that hasn't broken down yet, but this is what I like. And the reason for this is it's lightweight. It's not like dirt, and because it's still a little bit lighter, it's much easier to handle. This is very light, and this is much easier to handle. So if you don't have a fancy manure spreader and you still want to be able to get out there and spread this stuff around, you can see it's very easy to handle, and it's very easy to spread without having to come out in giant chunks like you would experience if you let this compost all the way down to dirt. Now I will leave that up to you. If you want to flip yours and let it sit for a year and a half, you should easily be able to use this for gardening or other things like that. In this case, this is just right, and this is what we're going to want to spread on our field. So, all right, just for reference, this is about 6 to 8 months of age of manure and straw and corn bedding that has broken down. Let's head over to another pile that's a little bit younger so we can take a look at the difference. All right, so this is about 3 to 4 months, and as you can see, not nearly as broken down, a little bit dustier, a little bit more organic material in it that needs to be broken down. This is still okay to spread on your fields, but if you're going to want to use it for gardening or something like that, I would definitely say you want to let this cook down a little bit longer. So we looked at about 6 to 8 months. Now we're looking at about 4 months. Let's head over and look at one that we've allowed to sit for about a year. All right, so here we are. This is about a year. This is at one time, believe it or not, this was up so high you couldn't even reach the top of it, and this is what happens after about a year. This has been flipped about once. This spring I will come in and actually dig this all up, and we will take this and use this for like gardening, things like that. This is really broken down. This is getting close to dirt. Very difficult to shovel, very compact. Most of the organic material has broken down into this, and this is really good stuff. Again, not necessarily what I would want to be spraying on my field. It doesn't work as well with the seed, but definitely something that if you were going to be using it for flower beds, gardening, things like that, this is what you would want to do. Now, if for potting, things like that, let's take a look at one that's been sitting even longer. All right, so here is a pile that's really been sitting for a long time. Actually, not purposely, just the animals enjoyed playing on it. The babies like to climb on it, so I just left it for them. But this one's probably been sitting for about a year and a half. And this thing is about as decomposed as it can get, about as composted as it can get. This would be acceptable to amend in potting soil and things like that. When I dig into this, you can see it is almost like black dirt. So very little material in there that hasn't completely decomposed down. This is really good stuff. But again, not a hot manure with the sheep and goats, not like chickens. You know, in the case of chickens, it's so high in nitrogen that it'll just burn anything that you put it on. This stuff, you could spread it almost immediately and it's not going to do any damage. This is going to go on our field, and we're going to show you a trick that we used in the springtime. You can also do this in the fall when you do not have animals on pasture. You don't want to spread this when you have animals on pasture. And we are going to actually add some seed to this today when we go out to the field to spread it. And so we're kind of cheating the system, and we are spreading seed, mulch, and fertilizer all in one step utilizing our manure spreader. So let's head over to the manure spreader here and check it out and see what it's all about. All right, so here it is. Here's the manure spreader. Now, I was hesitant to talk about the manure spreader today because I know that a lot of you don't have it, and this is a tool that's relatively expensive. I think for this manure spreader here, you're probably looking at, for a brand new one, you're probably looking between $3,000 and $4,000. And for a used one, it's going to be about the same price. So they may even be higher than that now. We've had this one for a number of years. So with the manure spreader, things to consider. Now, when we got ours, I got mine just wide enough in the loading area that the bucket of my skid steer will actually dump, so I'm not dumping over the outside edge and not dumping out way over the front. I've got a poly floor in this thing that I really, really like, and the fact that there isn't a whole lot on this thing that'll actually rot out. This is a ground-driven manure spreader. That is to say that we utilize the spinning of the tires is actually what drives all of the mechanism. On the floor here, you've got this will slowly rotate back, and I can set the speed on how fast that goes, and it's slowly going to push the manure back here. And what it's going to do is it's going to hit this first spinner here that has all these teeth on it. It's going to hit it and help to break up any chunks that are in it, and then it's going to hit these paddles here, and what these paddles are going to do is they're going to fling it, and you're going to see when we get the video going that it really flings it quite a significant distance. So this was kind of an added option that I put on here, this draw gate here, and if you come up here and look, what you can see, the benefit of this draw gate is when I load the trailer, this draw gate keeps things from falling out the back end until I get out where I need to go. Then I can lift this up and go ahead and let it run. So, you know, basic maintenance, things that you want to consider with your manure spreaders. It's an expensive piece of equipment, so you want to take care of it. It's crucial that you lubricate this thing every time before you start using it, because it has a lot of moving parts. And with those moving parts, they have to be greased. If you don't, you're going to burn this thing up and it's not going to last very long at all. The other thing to consider with the moving parts is this thing's dangerous. If you were to get caught in this thing, it is just going to absolutely destroy you. So make sure that you're cautious. You don't ever want to have any riders. If you ever get anything jammed up in there, you just want to stop and try to dig it out by hand. You don't want to have anybody standing back here on the working end while this thing is actually running. This thing has about 10 different grease points on it. We've already greased it for the day. We checked the tires, make sure they have enough air in them. And other than that, we were ready to go. Now, ours is an ABI. You can buy multiple different ones. We don't get paid, as you know. We just tell you what we like to use. We like to use ABI. It's a solid built piece of equipment. We're not getting paid by them to say that. We really searched long and hard to find a manure spreader when we got started, something that we could pull with a four-wheeler, and this was the best that we could find. Extremely well built, extremely high gauge steel. We really, really like it. So talking about the four-wheeler, you know, this thing hooks up to a hitch on a standard four-wheeler. I would think you probably wouldn't be able to pull this with a lawn tractor. This is a 600cc four-wheeler with four-wheel drive. We will have it in four-wheel drive when we go, and it's pushing it. 600cc is about as small as I would consider going when this thing's fully loaded. Something to consider when you're driving your manure spreader is faster is not better. We go no more than 8 miles an hour. 6 to 8 miles an hour is as fast as we go, and that is what works well. If you start going too fast, you're not going to do yourself any good. You can adjust your speeds up here in the front. If you come up here and look, there's two handles, and this is pretty standard for most manure spreaders. Even the very old ones, you'll see they've got these handles up on the front. So you got two handles. One handle is simply on and off. this works the beater mechanism in the back. This here has different settings, and these different settings represent different speeds, how fast the floor is going to move to get things to the back. We like to leave ours as slow as possible. We don't need to put this on thick. We don't want to put this on thick. This is just going to go on, get lightly spread, and we're done. So always, unless there's some reason you need to spread it on really heavy, always just run yours on the minimum setting. It'll put less wear and tear on the machine as well. So that is the manure spreader in a nutshell. All right, so here's the trick. Before we go out to our field to spread our manure, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a scoop of oats for seed, and I'm going to spread those oats in the bottom of my manure spreader. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some clover seed, and I'm going to do the same thing with my clover seed. Now clover, you get a lot of clover in a very little container. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my clover seed and I'm going to lightly spread that in here as well. This way, this will be on the bottom. When my manure spreader gets out there, this will slowly get pushed out with the manure. And before we head out to the field, we're actually going to put another scoop on the top as well. So we're going to have seed on the bottom, seed on the top, and it'll help to spread it. So let's get some video footage of us loading up the manure spreader before we take it out to spread it. Before they head out to the field, we're actually going to spread a little bit more seed on that as well. So as you can see, we've got two individuals on the four-wheeler. We've got Lindy driving, we've got Tessa on the back, and Tessa's there to actually work the controls in case this thing should start to lock up or something like that were to happen. Tessa can actually communicate with Lindy and work the levers to make sure that nothing gets locked up. Now, this way, the other good thing about having the passenger on the back is that they can communicate with one another. Lindy can focus on driving to make sure she doesn't run anything over. Tessa can focus on the spreader itself, and it just makes things a little bit easier. So you notice instead of going to the seed guy, I'm actually using whole oats from the big box store that you would use for feed. It doesn't have a fantastic germination rate, but I'll tell you, go price yourself out a bag of oats for planting in your field and see how much they cost. And this is just a supplement. So, you know, if we get a 50% germination rate, whoopity-doo, we don't really care. As long as we get something. Now with the clover, obviously, that's a different story. So sprinkle my seed on there. So I've got seed on the bottom, seed on the top. The girls are gonna head out. We're gonna get some good footage of them doing their thing. All right, girls, go get them. All right, so what you're gonna notice when we get out to the field, I'm just gonna kind of draw a generic outline here of our field. What you're gonna notice when we get out to the field, we grazed all of this last year and it's very, very green. And the reason for that is it had a lot of manure on it. We've got some bare spots. I've taken some aerial views and we've got some bare spots. I wouldn't say they're necessarily bare, but they're not as thick as some of the other areas. And these are the areas that we're primarily going to focus on when we spread our manure today. So as you're going to see, again, when we're spreading this manure, you know, we've got seed that's in the manure. We're going to spread it, and it's going to help to kind of fill in some of these areas. So we're kind of composting and seeding all at the same time. The other thing that you're going to notice is when we're driving the manure spreader, we're going to try to create straight lines. So the manure spreader will come out, we'll get started, and we'll go in a straight line all the way down. And then the next time we come out to the field, we'll line up right next to it. We'll do a straight line all the way down, all the way down. And this helps to create even coverage. You don't want to go out there and start doing this and driving all over the place, because then what ends up happening is you end up backtracking over your places that you've already gone and you get uneven spread and it just doesn't work. So again, nice straight lines, even to each other, line up, and you'll see kind of when our friends are driving the manure spreader how everything works. So that's it. So let's head out to the field and check it out. So again, I'm Tim from Linessa Farms Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining us again today, and we look forward to seeing you next time.